Welcome back to the channel, and either for the second time today or the first time today, depending if I'm releasing the video on Tuesday or on Wednesday, I haven't decided yet. I bring you the review of this week's chapter of the Seven Deadly Sins 166 of its name, Strange Fruit. Again, as in the fairy tale video, I do not understand the connection between the actual title and the contents of the chapter, but who am I to judge? Anyway, the chapter was awesome and starts with an awesome cover. King enveloped in that aura with that menacing look is just amazing, and that's when you know that a chapter is going to be awesome, as it was indeed. So, without further ado, let us move into the chapter. And we see kind of a standoff between the gigantic golem, the dollar golem, and the king's fifth form guardian awakened. And it's a pretty menacing standoff. It's a pretty terrifying Mexican standoff, if you ask me. And now Gloxinia is like really okay. So this guy is now showing his true colors. He's the real deal. He's not some imitation as I thought he would be. And this released version of Chastiefol is apparently the true power of the Holy Tree. So my ideas on the other sacred treasures actually having a release date might not actually be true because well they are not made from the holy tree to begin with, so that idea might have already been scraped out. And without losing any time, Dollar Golem charges the Guardian and punches repeatedly, but to no effect because Guardian just punches one time and he buries Dollar into the ground, way into the ground, because he's actually able to break the finger they're standing on, and it makes a hole. It makes a hole. But Dolor isn't. But the problem is that using the released form of Castifall actually drains a lot of power from King. So it's not something. That's why he hasn't used it before, because well, he loses a lot of energy on that. But let us not forget that Gloxinia's flower doll is still around. And speaking of which, it actually traps Diane even more and pulls her out and starts enveloping her in more and more vines. But no problem, King quickly changes from the Guardian form to the second form of Castifold, Increase, and my god, what cool looking daggers those are. And it just severs the vines with an anatomic precision, I might add. And he actually pierces through Gloxinia's doll, but being a doll and being a plant doll, it's not that simple. But that allowed him to do one thing. That, before I mention what it is, a little piece of information, sorry. We have the name of the doll, Gerhard. I said last chapter, that King knew who the doll was, and he recognized that face. I might say. So knowing the name now, it might be a step for us to know a little bit of the fairy's past. But anyway, King's sending increase to rip through Gloxinia's doll was actually an opportunity to put Castifall way up in the sky so it doesn't harm Diane by accident. And now he changes to the first form of Castifall, which is the actual spear. And my god, I love the look of the spear. I love the look of the daggers. It's more wild, it's more vile, it's more plant like. It's truly Cool. And with the true spirit spear, first form Chastiefol is slashes through Loxinia's doll and forms, I guess that's an energy release blast or some sort like that. It, it makes a cross of pure energy in the sky, blasts through everything, and eventually it completely destroys Gloxinia's doll. It turns it to ashes, really. So, and to my surprise, Gloxinia actually admits defeat. Is it though? We don't know. We'll just have to see next chapter. And now Lian is like, why would you go to this extent to protect me? And King is like smiling, just about to say, thinking that, oh, it's because I love you. But he doesn't have time to say anything because the Lord comes and punches the hell out of him. Yes, Dolor Golem climbed out of the hole. He's not out of the equation yet. Loxinia's doll might be, but Dolor Golem is not. And now, my prediction is, it's up to Diane. As we see, she swirls around and takes the punch. I don't know if she takes the punch or if she just kind of swirls around, grabs King on the way, but I think she takes the punch because I see little spills of blood coming out of her mouth. So she actually takes the punch for King's sake and saying that, well, if you're just going to go all out for me, then who am I to stand back and watch you get killed by that? And so Diane actually showing her feelings, even though she doesn't remember her true feelings. We are making a headway into a Diane King shipping. And the name of the next chapter kind of spoils it up for that. What's precious within you? I'm going to guess that that will be the end of Diane's battle with Dolor Golem, and thus consequently the end of King and Diane's battle versus Loxinia's doll and Dolor's Golem. So this was a very quick chapter. I must add the video is very short. Yeah, like 7 minutes in. So yeah, let us talk a little bit, shall we? So not to end it in a abrupt manner. Let us talk a little bit about it. I am very surprised with this battle. If you remember a few videos back, we in the chapter when we had the themes known to us, I never thought, if you remember, I never thought that Diane and King would face against Dolor Golem and Gloxinia's doll. I actually thought that Meliodas and Ban would be the ones to face them. But now, seeing as the battle progresses, it actually makes sense to have the Fairy King defeat the fairy representative and have a giant defeat the representative of the god of giants. It actually makes sense, and it was to some extent an expected match. Sorry, I roll my tongue over itself. So yes, I but this battle took a bit longer than I expected. Well, I say a bit longer, but it's the second. No, yes, it's the second chapter of the battle. The first one being the last one. And now we're on to the third chapter of this battle, which I believe will actually be the end. I think we will see Diane stand up and actually facing the Lord Golem, showing some of her sick moves. Probably mix a little bit of dancing in there. If you remember, when she lost her memory, she went back to Matrona and she trained a little bit in all that dance to feel the nature around her. So I think she might incorporate some of those dance techniques or moves into her actually combat maneuvers, which would be pretty cool. And then after the chapter, victory will be declared and the Anand King will emerge victorious. Unless, and I thought about this now, we I don't know if we are able to have a mixed victory, kind of like a draw. Like King took out Gloxinia's doll, but what if Dolor Golem actually takes out the young? And as a pair, it would be unbalanced because King on one side and Dolor Golem on the other. What if a draw was declared, and King and Dollar Golem would be the victors. That would be a pretty interesting turn of events, because that would mean that for the first time ever since the matches began, that a main character would be on that stage of being pulled down to the finger and supposedly dying. I guess, yes, Diane is a giant and she could easily break through the finger if they are truly sent down the finger and stay there, because we don't really know what happened when they are pulled in the finger. Well, only the assassins were pulled in the finger, the demons were completely annihilated, and Naglokshин has always been incinerated. So we really have no idea of knowing what actually happens when they are sucked in the hole. But it would be interesting to see kind of a draw between the two teams. It would bring a desperate scene to the whole general um, arc, let's say, not arc, to the whole event, because Elizabeth and Elaine won, Meliodas and Ban won. Now, if Diane and King both win, even though they had a lot more trouble than the other two teams, if three teams of the good guys actually win, I think it might be pretty. It's like, oh, yeah, it's the typical, the good guys always come out on top, and yeah, this is gonna be, in the next matches will be like, oh, yeah, they will win for sure. It's no trouble at all. I think, given the current situation, given the enemies they're facing, the Ten Commandments, well, eight now because two of them were defeated. But yes, if given the current situation, I think that a little bit of a despair situation is needed, even though it would be pretty bad at a start. But some sort of desperation is needed to make this an even more complex saga or arc. Just not to be all fine and dandy. You get what I mean. So yeah, those were my considerations on the chapter. Sorry for the shorter video. The chapter really didn't allow for much more. And so yeah, I guess that's it for today. Second video of the day or first video of the day, depending on whichever day I decide to upload this. I might upload both today, Tuesday, because apparently One Piece 820 releases tomorrow. So yeah, tomorrow we will probably have One Piece video. I've already read a tiny little bit of spoilers. The first page has released, and I already made a theory on it as well. So yes, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Once again, and as always, comment on the chapter what you think of it and what you think that will happen next. Comment on my performance and the quality of the video, as I always say. This is kind of like my catchphrase. Every YouTuber has its own like catchphrase that it's always repeating, whether it's in the opening or in the ending. Mine is this. The comment section below is yours to use and abuse, and I see you guys in the next video.